and welcome to this brand new episode of the
Geek
Buddies.
Yeah, buddies, buddies. It's a funny joke, buddies.
We are back again with this week's main show here. Thank you all so much for joining us and for watching this. And you're looking at it right now. You're looking at wait. There's just two of you guys here for sure, but we got a third, and we'll let you know in just a second who that is. Today we're going to be talking about so many things in the world of entertainment, talking about James Gunn's comments, getting into some rumors about a Prey sequel, talking about AHSOKA, where we are as we head into the finale here just a few days away, and also a little bit of strike talk and some trailers talk as well that's going to happen here on the show. But first, let's introduce ourselves. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies.
I am Michael Vogel. I'm a writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies, including some stuff that we're going to talk about in our trailers today.
I know, a nice little surprise for our show for sure. And, as I said, couldn't do it. Unfortunately, Shannon McClung is out of town, so he couldn't hang with us today, but we had to find somebody else who could fill his shoes, also a Florida State graduate. He is the co-creator of the Movie Trivia Schmodown. He is the owner and creator of the Kristian Harloff channel, which is blowing up now with shows like The Big Thing and Capes and Cowls and his own reactions and reviews and the UFO stuff that is really blowing up on his channel. So we are very excited to welcome our FSU Seminole brother and our brother in geekdom as well, the great Kristian Harloff. Kristian, welcome to the... Oh, God. There he is. There he is.
Wow. Wow.
Good stuff. Look at this guy.
Look at the chat. I love it.
You know that literally is the movie that scared me the most as a child. Like, you just PTSD'd the shit out of me by having that be the way that you came into the room.
Hey, Mikey.
Oh,
hey,
God.
Mikey. How you doing?
Jesus Christ.
Holy
It's the only time that I actually had my mom pick me up from a sleepover. Woke up in the middle of the night and was like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, scary shit. Hey, I had to tell you, I got beef for you guys.
Oh, shoes and beef or just
shoes and beef?
No shoes and beef. I got beef. Only reason I agreed to do this fucking show was to scream out the Geek Buddies thing in the beginning, and you guys did it without me. So no, I'm not doing it. You lost your chance. No, you lost your chance.
Fine. All right. Our apologies. I thought it was beneath you, too childish for you, but didn't know you were going to pull out the.
Have you seen my show?
I should have known. Right? I should have known. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Kristian, let people know what's going on, man. Your channel's at 94,000 plus subscribers. Really great explosion over the last year and a half that it's been rolling around, really kind of grabbing the pop culture zeitgeist quickly. You've been getting a lot of reactions positive to your reviews and these shows that are blowing up now, Capes and Cowls, your UFO shows really blowing up. So where are you at right now on the status of your career in this channel you got going on?
Thank you. Well, we're actually looking to, we're building up. We're trying to hit that 100,000. The goal is, it's my birthday month in October. So the goal is to try to do it in October. But as I was telling John off camera, I think it'll probably be around November, but it's just to kind of, it feels good because I went out on my own to do it. And I took the shot to do it, and over the last 2 years I've built it up, and I'm excited about it. But we goofed about shoes and beef. I would say, and some people, I talk about it every single time I do, but it would be great to bring it up on the show with the man who, without him, Michael Vogel, we would never had those wonderful designs for shoes and beef.
You would have had good designs. That was most of you guys, but it was very fun. That was like early days of LA. It
was, and we had the. Did you like your animation that he did at the end for you?
Me?
Did you not see, did you not see your animation? Oh, okay.
Oh, I did. I loved it.
He gave you the jacked tank top and the guns blazing, man. And everything too.
I'm adding it to the pile of animated representations of me that I have had throughout the years, and it's a top contender for favorites.
I love that.
So I am into it.
Good
stuff. Good stuff. Well, let's get into the show here. Kristian, as I said, is very gracious to join us and have some fun having these conversations. Before we start, I want to remind you all to please subscribe to the channel down below. I'm nowhere near 94,000, but that's the goal, to get to that location where we get close enough to 100. So help us out by subscribing down below and hitting that like button. But gentlemen, we got to start with the strike. The Writers Guild of America strike is over. It is over. SAG-AFTRA is going to be negotiating on Monday, and we've also got the voiceover video game SAG-AFTRA strike happening as well. But Michael, your reactions, the strike is over, 146 days. You're a writer, not a WGA writer, but you're a writer of the show. So, and we know many writers amongst our group of friends who are part of the WGA, Canon being part of the negotiating committee. So what are your thoughts here real quick about the end of the strike now and where we're going next?
I mean, people are just feeling good. That's really the vibe in LA. People, I was at a party last night that was a yay, the strike is over party. There was a bounce house. There were goats. There was a lot of drinking. And it was great. Like, you know, just talking to a bunch of writers, bunch of agents, just a bunch of everybody. And everyone just has this really great sense of not only like relief that the strike is over, but a sense of pride in that the strike actually accomplished something. That everyone feels that there were gains made. Everybody feels like they did move the ball forward, and everybody is really, really excited to just get back to work. So, LA right now has a really nice sense of celebration, and hopefully, assuming that the rest of the talks go well with SAG-AFTRA, we will continue that wave. And, you know, even though I was talking to somebody about this last night, even though I write primarily for 839 Animation Guild stuff, with the strike going on and everything being shut down, the industry has kind of just been shut down. There hasn't been as much happening, even in the animation side. And I think everyone has this sense that we're about to get into a real sort of... the ball is going to be rolling down the hill, and it's going to be rolling down the hill fast. Like, a lot of stuff's going to be going on, and when stuff is busy and a lot of projects are happening, it just kind of everything rises. So I'm looking forward to a lot of work, hopefully, in the next several months.
Yeah, Kristian, you and I are Godfather fans. We know that sometimes you got to go to the mattresses, you got to clear out the old blood, and it seems like the bad blood, rather. It seems like that's what happened here over 146 days. The WGA deal, a total value was $233 million. The AMPTP only wanted to give up 86, so that's a victory right there. And they got a lot of concessions on residual staffing and AI stuff, which was the big concern. So what are your thoughts now that strike is over? What's your feeling and sentiment that you sense around Hollywood and LA right now?
Well, it's definitely what Mike was saying as far as I think people feel, especially with SAG, the beginning of the end, because I think, as I said, and I always preface this when I say this, that I think that the writers fought their hearts out, got exactly what they deserved. They really put they just showed their reserve overall, and what they, from the second they hit that line, and from the horrible things that were said as far as people trying to bleed them out and things a lot, they stayed and they did what was what they should have done, and then what they did, and they got a major victory. But I think that the studios never took them, and I don't necessarily even know, they don't look at them as the important thing, because they look at us. I think the AI is the entire emphasis. Whether they know, we can replace them anyway, because basically we could just come have this AI program, and writes a script, and then we can hire a writer to do a touch up on it, and that's fine. And that's what they wanted to do with technology. They always knew they needed the actors. Once the actors went, they went, oh shit, like it became that thing, because now they knew once they couldn't keep the actors away for as long as the writers were away, and they knew, we got to take care of the writers first. Let's give the writers. We've lost this war. We've lost it. We've got to get to the table now, so we can get the actors back to work also, and the writers were able to benefit from that. And I think that there's some things that I'm sure they would have probably wanted a little bit more of. And I think I was talking to Sam Levine and Rachel Cushing on our website stream last night, and they had some really great points about it. And I think one of the things with the streaming numbers is the fact that there's specifics about the streaming numbers. Everyone's like, oh, they're going to release streaming numbers. Not necessarily all the way through. There's a particular, it's like a per case by case situation. When you sign up, you sign a contract, you go, okay, here's my contract for the show that I'm working on. The numbers will be revealed, because Sam's point was great last night. I don't know if you guys have made this point. One of the main reasons that they don't show the streaming numbers is because if they put all this money, he used the reference of like Lord of the Rings, the show. If that show, for the amount of money they spent on it, did like 3 million people watched it, and they released that number, stocks. Right. And so they probably told them in the room, guys, we can't. And this is what Sam was talking about last night. He's like, there is certain ways that everyone in that room had to go, okay, we get it, but pay us. And that's what they did. And they won. And I'm glad.
Yeah, me too. I like that vibe. I like the feeling. It feels like the writers won, but it doesn't feel like the studios necessarily have that much egg on their face from the deal. They used a lot of the construct of the DGA deal, so I know a lot of people gave shit to the DGA, but like that construct they worked out early on is the construct they used for the WGA deal, and so that was important and an essential part of this indirectly, in how it all came about. So that's a positive overall. I'm glad they took care of the writers first. The actors, I bet, were cool to wait. You know, Fran sitting out there, hanging out with them all, really protesting, doing all the things she needed to support WGA after her initial misstep in some of her comments. That was really good to see. And now we're going to get taken care of. And I'm glad they're waiting a week to let the WGA have the time to bask in the glow of the deal. And now we get to negotiate on Monday and hopefully get a great deal there that helps everybody. But look, I just feel like after everything we had with Bill Maher, Drew Barrymore, that was like the last straw. Like people were like, all right, let's just get going. And there's a great article in Variety that breaks down how far back these backdoor negotiations were happening to lead us to these 5 days of negotiation. So at the end, everyone's really happy. We're going forward, and hopefully the SAG stuff gets settled, and then we're good to go with all the stuff happening. So we'll see for sure. But going from a little bit of a happiness to a little bit of sadness here, we'd be remiss not to mention the passing of Michael Gambon. 82 years old, passed away sadly from pneumonia. Gentleman was born in Ireland in 1940. Let me tell you how old this man is. He was hired by Laurence Olivier to join the National Theatre's first production of Hamlet. He won 3 Olivier Awards. He won 4 BAFTA Awards. He was knighted in 1998. And of course, some iconic characters like Albus Dumbledore there in the Harry Potter series, but also Layer Cake, the cook, the thief, the wife, and his wife and her lover, Toys, The Insider, Sleepy Hollow, Open Rage, Fantastic Mr. Fox. Incredible legacy of work that he leaves behind here. Daniel Radcliffe said, with the loss of Michael Gambon, the world just became considerably less fun. He was one of the most brilliant, effortless actors I've ever had the privilege to work with. Emma Watson, who said, you never took it too seriously, but somehow delivered the most serious moments with all the gravitas, giving her tribute to Michael Gambon. Thank you for showing us what it looks like to wear greatness lightly. We will miss you. Kristian, your thoughts here, Michael Gambon, Harry Potter, your feelings about him and other stuff, of course, with this passing.
You know, what's funny is that when you're younger, you think of like 80, 82, and you're like, oh, okay, it was long life, older, as you're saying, it's true. But it's like, I have my parents are in that range, right? My father-in-law, my mother-in-law, they're in that range. And it's like, it's towards the tail end, but it's still, it just creeps up on you. And the fact pneumonia, that alone is like, you know, it's just our bodies just can't take that at that age. And Gambon was just such a presence, man. I remember, I mean, it ain't easy to just take over from Richard Harris. It ain't easy. And he did it seamlessly. He was so, I mean, he was able to just really transform and make Dumbledore just so, it was because they had the two of them had very different styles and how they approached it, but somehow you still never really questioned, well, that's not Dumbledore. You believed it right away. And that was how great he was. And anytime if you saw, because my daughter, and I was a big Harry Potter fan myself, but my daughter got me even more so back into them. And I used to watch kind of the behind the scenes and the bloopers, and he was always involved in them, and he had fun with them, and he had fun with the kids. And he was always, he could have taken himself very seriously, but as Emma Watson said, he didn't. He was, he took I mean, he was professional, but like he had fun, and everyone else had fun. And it's always a bummer when, you know, you lose somebody like that. And as Daniel Radcliffe said, it's like the world's a little less fun, but nonetheless, you celebrate him, you celebrate what he's done, and God bless.
Absolutely. Michael, you know, we're big Harry Potter fans, certainly you much more than me in terms of reading the books and being steeped in the culture of Harry Potter here. Certainly a great career, but this is the one role he's going to be known for sure. What are your thoughts now on the passing of Michael Gambon here at this age of 82?
Yeah, I mean, echoing everything Kristian said, like at a certain point, you're like, give everybody a couple more years. You know, like aside from Betty White, like just kind of like running through that finish line at the very end, everyone else, you're like, man, you could have had a couple more years. But you know, I think he was great, and he was one of those actors that he was great in everything he did. Even in a bad movie, he was going to be good. Like, and I think the word that I would use is effortless. And I think it ties in to what Kristian was talking about with the bloopers and what Daniel Radcliffe said about the world is a little less fun. A lot of British actors have this thing, especially some of the ones who have been doing it for a while, where when they're on camera, they're delivering and you are 100% invested. You believe every moment. They are in it. They are serious. But as soon as the camera's off, they are just having a blast because to them, it's fun. Like it's a craft to them as opposed to the whole, I got to be really, some of the other actors that we talk about on the show who are sort of in character the whole time and driving the cast and crew crazy because they're really method and they're really like living the role. Like, you know, Michael Gambon was doing just as good as any of them, but managed to have fun with it. And there was a lightness to his acting. And I think that played into the way that you sort of took him in on the screen. Like Kristian's right. Following up Richard Harris is a tough act. Richard Harris was great in those first 2 Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
But he's not my Dumbledore. Michael Gambon is my Dumbledore. Like what he did aside from one line in Goblet of Fire that he really whiffed, aside from the one, he kind of just nailed it throughout. And I don't think the Harry Potter franchise would have been the same without him.
Yeah, I just real quick for me, it's some people complain, oh, Richard Harris, I'd liked him better as Dumbledore, but I think Richard Harris worked for those Christopher Columbus movies. Like it's a different approach. It's how a child would see someone like Dumbledore at that age. Gambon, you know, it wasn't on purpose, obviously, because of the passing of Richard Harris, but it seemed to work out for the series that this was a harder edged Dumbledore, less of a, you know, kind of stroke your hair kind of Dumbledore and make you feel good about things. He was very much a truth teller, and that's what you want as you're getting older, and that's how you see the world as you grow into your teens and what have you. So I liked that element was there in his interpretation, his portrayal, and he's a DGAF actor. Like he's one of those actors that you sense he's going to do his thing and he's going to be relaxed about it. And you know you're in good hands. And he can play a villain. He can play a hero. He can play comedy. It's just all within his wheelhouse. And he was effortless in doing so. And it was great to see. You want to say one last thing, Mike?
No, I'm going to say, I think you're right about his Dumbledore performance. But the other thing that he had even a little bit more than Richard Harris did is he had this twinkle. He had this Willy Wonka-esque quality to the Dumbledore that he played that I think really played into it well. So definitely a wonderful and storied career and definitely will miss him and wish him well on that boat to wherever we're all going.
On that train? In that train?
It seems as if Michael was not a fan of my Dumbledore.
Wow.
That's good.
That's good. Hilarious.
All right, well, let's move on to our next subject here, and that's the sequel for Prey. This is coming to us from World of Real. Apparently, they drew attention to a Production Weekly listing, which claims that Prey 2 is indeed in the works. We know the first film concluded with Naru, who is played by Amber Midthunder, who you see right there on the screen, defeating the near unstoppable alien hunter with the aid of her canine pal and returning to her tribe. But the end credits suggested that other predators soon showed up to avenge their fallen comrade. So there's been a lot of speculation about this for quite some time. Certainly people were excited. Initially, people were upset that this wasn't a theatrical release. We were knee deep in the COVID situation going on there. The 4K release, I think, is out or coming out. So people are excited for that. But yeah, Michael, I go to you. What are your thoughts on this? A Prey sequel, Amber Midthunder coming back. Are we in danger of messing up this beautiful little gem that we didn't sense was going to be this gem by having more sequels that are going to turn out like Aliens versus Predator or those terrible Aliens films? What do you think? Or Predator films, rather. What do you think?
Well, look, nothing is going to ruin this film being as great as it was. So even if they make a sequel and with it, this film was still fantastic. But I think they did a great job, and I think they really landed on something. This is the first. I had dinner recently with another writer, and we were talking about the Predator films and the Alien films and the Aliens versus Predator comics, and just like the two of us were very, very into these two franchises and bemoaning the fact that both of them, the further along that they've gone, got more and more maligned.
Yes.
And you know, I as someone who's a hardcore Predator fan, I think there are elements about Predator 2 that are cool. There's also all elements of Predator 2 that are ridiculous and racist and insane. But Predator 2 has some good stuff. I even think there's some really nice ideas and some nice moments in Predators. The Lawrence Fishburne, Adrian Brody one, where they sort of like went back to using the classic Predator score, kind of like really had some fun moments. Don't think it really stuck the landing. The less said about the Aliens versus Predator movies, the better for everybody involved.
What about
like
Shane
that's
Black's
where
Predator
things
movie? Oof.
Oh yeah, like just bad news. So when Prey came along, I think they really locked into something that was brilliant. They got back to the basics of what the Predator was. Putting it in a completely different time period allowed for a completely fresh and new kind of storytelling. So they managed to hit all the beats that we loved about the original Predator, but in a completely new context without adding a bunch more shit. Like it's a really simple, basic, straightforward story. And I think they nailed it. And like even I watched it on a plane. I was so excited. I was flying from Vancouver to Florida and I watched it, and watching those closing credits, I was like, all right, here we go. Like already, like give me the sequel.
Yeah.
So not only would I love for them to do a sequel to Prey, but I also think, and this is what I was talking to my friend about, I think they really locked onto a great way to just keep the Predator franchise going, which is, yeah, I definitely want to know the next chapter of this story. Like what happened with this group of indigenous people when more Predators come in, but also give me a fucking Predator in the French Revolution. Give me a fucking Predator in like South America. Like, you could just go any place, any time period, any big moment in history, and you can tell me a Predator story, and I'm into it. Yeah. So give me a Predator in Rome. Give me a Predator in Sparta. Like, I don't give a shit. Give me a Predator in any of these places, and I think they've really locked into this thing that could really extend the Predator franchise if they did it right and didn't overdo it.
Right. Yeah. Dan Trachtenberg doing a really good job with this film, Kristian. I was excited about this one when I saw it. I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed it. I'd seen the reviews ahead of time and just had a blast with this one. But Michael brings up an interesting point. A, let me get your thoughts on a Predator 2, a Prey sequel. Mm-hmm. And B, do you think Amber Mid-Thunder comes back, or are we jumping 100 years to another century to another sequence of events here? What do you think is going to happen in this sequel? And your thoughts on a sequel?
She's coming back 100%. Yeah, and Trachtenberg is how you say it.
Yeah,
so I had the pleasure of actually interviewing her for my show. She came in.
Oh, nice.
She came in about 5-6 months ago, whatever it was, and I obviously asked her about this, and she obviously didn't tell me anything. But from the way that she answered it, and the way that she talked about her relationship with Dan, was that this dude is all about making these movies in a what Mike just said, this kind of back to basics essence of a Predator fan, which he is, and really captured that. And then B, they have a relationship where he's calling her, texting her to say, like, look at this idea and this, like she's going to be in it if they do a second one. I happen to agree with Mike. Also, I would love to see them go back in time and do more stuff, or a little bit more forward, backward, whatever it is. But I would like to see this story continue because she is so good. And I really did. I really thought she was great when I saw the movie. But then even talking to her, she's just very similar to like how I felt about when I sat down and I talked to Xolo Maridueña. Like just two people who have their heads on their shoulder that you root for because they get it and they really understand overall like the essence of the fandom, the essence of what the character is, the story. And what I liked about it, I think that there's a stigma that we still kind of, especially us, because we're in that generation when something hit VHS or direct to DVD, we're like, I must stink. So there's like this weird stigma that if something shows up on streaming, that it must not be very good. And I think movies like this and a lot of some movies you can catch on Apple and prove that that's not true. And I also, the way that the theaters are now, that movies like this, I actually think that it benefits this movie that it was on streaming. I think putting this movie in the theater might have hurt it more than it would have benefited because for some reason now look, the budget itself, maybe if it does 50-60 million, it still can make a profit. 70 million makes a profit, but why risk it when you can have this type of success on Hulu? Got nominated for awards. It was a very smart move, and I think that I think that they will continue. Your concern, John, I think because the director is so locked into it, I don't think it taints it. I think it actually benefits it and helps it out and gives us a direct sequel to the Predator that will be good. And as much as Gary Busey running around doing what he's got to do, it's fine. It's fine. There's some fun moments. Mike's right, but it's not a great movie. Let's get two greats back to back.
I mean, Jake's still around, so we could still mess around with Jake Busey. But maybe she's like, if we jumped 100 years or 200 years, maybe she is the ancestor of, the descendant of these of herself from the first movie. That's a possibility as well. But yeah, I don't want to see Amber out of this series. She is one of the big reasons why she is the big reason why this film worked. Yeah.
I think, and like everyone does this. Like, I do it with My Little Pony or Strawberry Shortcake. Like, when you're telling a story, the studio is going to tell you, well, you're not getting another season or you're not getting a sequel.
Yeah,
but you're always planning ahead and being like, ooh, it would be cool to do this. And so you really like doing that end credit sequence the way they did. Like, they didn't do a post credit scene. They didn't do a big thing, but just doing those hieroglyphics, kind of showing more Predator ships coming in. You're like, there's more story to tell here.
Yeah,
so like, yeah, they absolutely could jump 100 years. She could be an ancestor. I would love to see other Predator movies in this vein, but it really, I am with Kristian that I do think that there's definitely this character went on a journey, defeated this Predator.
Yeah.
And now some shit's going down, and show me a bunch of indigenous people versus a bunch of predators, and let's go to town.
Yeah, and maybe it's later in her life when they come back, because it didn't say like when they came back. So it could be like she's married, has children, so it's a whole nother different approach as a mother, through this whole situation.
And honestly, I still down the line. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, I don't know how much longer they can wait, but I would love to see Hulu reach out to Arnold like one last time. One last time. Last time. And I'm not telling you he needs to go out there like Stallone and Samaritan and start fighting with his hands. But why can't he strategize and help somebody out? I'm talking about down the line. I'm not talking about this. I mean, this is perfect to continue the way it is. I'm just saying, if you can get him and he's doing these Netflix movies and you can get him to strategize and just one more time he can go after it and then it comes back years later and you can do it, but not in where it's like a silly kind of and as much as I love Craig Brewer, I use this example, Coming to America 2 was such a miss. And like when you can do something that kind of actually, it's very hard, whether it's action comedies, whatever it is, it's very hard to recreate that tone of the 80s. It's very hard to do it. And you need to kind of do that. And other shows have done it. And I actually think, even though it wasn't it wasn't an 80s movie by any stretch of the imagination, I think that Prey did capture that kind of feel and I think you can still do that with Arnold.
I could go either way. If I was going to bring Arnold in, it would be in a small dose. But I do think Prey is the road to getting something like that. I think, you reach a certain point in those Predator movies. Predator 2 came out. Arnold was the biggest star in the world, and his entire team was like, hey, maybe we don't touch these movies.
We don't do movies anymore.
Maybe we don't need to do these. We're at a different level. But I think that if Prey does great, if a sequel to Prey does great, if Hulu, like, this is their premiere thing, and then they really do something that's more modern day, Dutch lived, like, have him come back in, like, do something really cool. And like, I think now is the time in Arnold's life, and if the Predator franchise sort of gets a little bit of dusts itself off and gets a little bit more luster to it, maybe you do get something like that.
Would it be called Carl? Would be working a curtain hanging business? Is that what, like in Terminator? Is that what we're thinking? Anyway, just throwing it out.
Stop it.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm excited for it. I love this film, so we'll see what as more details come out. Now the strike is over, and hopefully soon SAG-AFTRA strike will be over. Maybe some details will start pouring out on this, and we'll start to get excited for what we're going to see. But let's take a quick break, and we'll jump into some more topics here on the Geek Buddies right after this. Yeah, you got it.
Shannon McClung not here to do the song, so I will do them. Sorry.
That's good. That's good. Well, let's move on to James Gunn here. He is clarifying DC canon. He took to Threads, not to X, formerly known as Twitter. He took to Threads this week to answer questions about the DC universe. He posted, in response to some of these questions, that nothing is canon until Creature Commandos next year, and then a deeper dive into the universe with Superman Legacy after that. It's a very human drive to want to understand everything all the time, but I think it's okay to be confused on what's happening in the DCU, since no one has seen anything from the DCU. And yes, some actors would be playing characters they played in other stories, and some plot points might be consistent with plot points from the dozens of film shows and animated projects that have come from the DC in the past, but nothing is canon until Creature Commandos and Legacy. He also went on to say Zola the Dueña is going to continue as Blue Beetle, Viola Davis is going to continue as Amanda Waller, John Cena will be back as Peacemaker, and Freddie Troma will be back as Vigilante. But based on his comments here, it seems like Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad will not be canon. If I'm assessing this correctly, Kristian, help me figure this out. What is going on here? Do you think he's having his cake and eating it too by saying it's okay that you want to know, but we'll tell you when we feel like it? What are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, if that's the case, then he should stay off Threads.
Yeah,
he should because he's causing the confusion. I think that when it comes to this stuff, he has every right to say, just wait. I'll show you when Superman's going to come out. We're going to start this whole thing. Just wait. Stop answering people on Twitter. Stop answering people on Threads. Just stop, because all it does is cause like, oh, wait a minute. He says this person's in it and this person's in it, but this person's not. Oh, what the hell's going on? And he's going, I know what's going on, and I'll show you in 2025. At that case, just don't tell anybody. He has every right to run it however the hell he wants to run it, and I trust in what he's done because he's made some great stuff. I loved the Suicide Squad. Yeah. I loved Peacemaker. I loved Guardians 3. I'm very excited to see what he does with Superman. I can't wait to see his overall plan, but this guy is confusing the shit out of me. I have no idea what's going on. And again, he doesn't have to. It's his right to confuse me in a certain way. But when he's answering questions, he's like, well, you know what? This person's coming back because I want to make Peacemaker 2. I like doing that show, and that's why I'm bringing it back. And I want to hire my friends again. And everybody loved Freddie Stroma because he was the best part of the damn show. So we got to bring him back too, but I can't say that. And who wouldn't want Viola Davis back? She's Viola Davis. So we're going to bring her back too. Why? Because she's Viola Davis. And then to me, and it's not because of, like I mentioned, I've had an opportunity to talk to him. I think Xolo is, to me, the only person that really makes sense to bring back, because I read the comments differently. I read the comments inside of it. It actually is going to be canon, and certain things inside of of past movies could connect. Again, confusing. But Xolo, to me, the reason why is when you see, everybody here has seen Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
So Blue Beetle to me was the only one that out of all three of those don't connect to that other DCU. They mentioned Batman, they mentioned Superman, they mention these characters, but they exist in the DC. It doesn't, and if there is a small thing that connects to the old one, it went over my head. And there's not, right? So you could connect him very easily into it and say that to me makes total sense, because he's not. And it was in the transition period between the old DCEU and the new DCU, so that one makes sense. The other two, for the Peacemaker thing, he loves doing it. He loves writing the show. He loves working with John Cena. Let's call it what it is. He wants to continue it, so that's why he's doing Viola Davis, because you have Viola Davis and you still want to use Viola Davis. I think it's confusing. I think that you should have rebooted the whole thing and said, look, I love doing that show. Time to move on.
Yeah. There's nothing that couldn't have said he could have worked with all those actors all over again, just in different roles,
right?
In this new kind of completely started from scratch.
Didn't mention Momoa. He didn't say Jason Momoa.
And that's what I was just going to ask Michael. Michael, he doesn't mention Momoa. He doesn't mention Gal Gadot, even though she couldn't stop talking about how much they're working on Wonder Woman 3. He only mentions that it starts from here and goes forward. So is Kristian right? Is he confusing everybody by just talking? Should he lay off? Because I've seen fans go, you guys want, and you're too entitled. You want everything laid out for you. And other fans going, no, we just want to know what the fuck is going on. So we know what we should watch, what we shouldn't watch, what we should pay attention to and not pay attention to. And we have Aquaman 2 coming out, and he's not even promoting that. So what are your thoughts in the comments, and what are your thoughts on what Kristian had to say about this?
I mean, we talked about this before. In general, James Gunn talks too much on social media. Like in general, he just talk like he always has. He always will. What got him in trouble back in the day was he talked too much on social media. Tweeting, what's happening now is he's probably talking too much on social media. That being said, I've said this. We've all talked about this. Although I am the first one to say the thing that does make the most sense is a hard reboot. I also agree with Kristian that Blue Beetle could easily be a part of that hard reboot because there's nothing that ties it to the old DC universe.
Right.
At the end of the day, John Cena's great as Peacemaker and Viola Davis is great as Amanda Waller. Like, that's just true. And what he specifically said was, yes, some actors will be playing characters they've played in other stories, and some plot points might be consistent with plot points from the dozens of films, shows, and animated projects that have come from DC in the past. That just means I'm going to choose the pieces that I want and keep them. That's really all that means, is that he's doing a hard reboot and he loves doing Peacemaker, and he's like, Peacemaker's a great character, I'm going to keep it. Now, he also said because somebody specifically asked, you don't have to watch anything to be caught up. Now, we'll see how much that remains to be true, but you don't have to watch anything to be caught up. So does that mean that by the time that we get to Superman Legacy, you know, Peacemaker's going to be doing whatever he's doing. Amanda Waller's going to have an entire series on HBO Max for us to figure out what's going on with her. Like, you know, like I look at it the same way. It's not exactly the same, but look at it as the way that Star Wars used Thrawn. You know, Thrawn was part of all the Legends stuff that everybody's like, guys, Legends is out. Legends is out. And everybody was like, fuck you, you ruined Legends. Oh, there's great stuff in Legends. And then over the past decade or so, Filoni and Favreau and everybody been, you know, cherry picking the stuff in Legends that they liked and putting it right back in. So does that mean that Peacemaker's going to come in and it's going to be a continuation of season 1 of Peacemaker? Or does it mean they're going to announce a season 2 of Peacemaker? Maybe they will. Or does John Cena as Peacemaker just show up slightly recontextualized?
Yeah.
Could go either way. So yes, the answer is we still don't have any answers. And I do think, to your other question, don't bode well for Aquaman.
No.
You know, everybody made a big deal out of Momoa coming out of Warner Brothers and yelling and screaming and hooting and hollering. And you know what? Maybe he is Lobo. Like, who the fuck knows? Like, who knows? But like, I think that the main thing to know about this is I am thrilled that Jolo Maraduena is still Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
Makes me very, very happy. I would keep Viola Davis too. John Cena's Peacemaker was great, so cool, keep him. And Creature Commandos is the launch of this new era of DC.
Yeah.
That's what we know. And I am with Kristian. I am more excited about what's coming from DC right now than I have been in probably the past 10 years.
Yeah.
I am very curious about Superman Legacy. I like the casting there. I like all the I love that Authority is coming. I'm glad that Damian Wayne is coming. I'm really into the fact that Creature Commandos are going to be animated, but they're casting those voice actors to be voice actors that could play those characters in live action. So a lot of the interconnected pieces that he's already laid out, as he's been talking too much on social media, I'm into the choices. So although, yes, it is still confusing, I'm willing to wait and see how this all goes with a general air of curiosity and excitement.
And sometimes you don't have to say the quiet part out loud. You know, Kathleen didn't say, we're going to pick plot points and we're going to, if we feel like it, and we're like, no, she just said, this is it. This is canon. Everything else is Legends. Let's go forward. Right. It was very clear, concise. The cut was there. People were upset, but then they got over it. And then he picked what he wanted. And then down the road, she picked out stuff, or they picked out stuff, and they put it in and gave it their own spin. So I appreciated that. And
to your point, to your point, it's like, had he just said, Creature Commandos in 2024 is the beginning of the new DCU, and hadn't said anything one way or the other, then we wouldn't be having all this. Well, does this mean that Aquaman is out? What about Gal? What about this? You just said it, because when you say something specific, it's not only what you did say, but it's also what you didn't say. Right. Like every news article is also making as big a deal out of the actors he didn't mention as the actors he mentioned.
I also don't think that they really knew 100%, because they had when Safran and Gunn took over, there were Black Adam had just come out, or when they signed on, it was about to come out. You had Shazam 2, which was also Safran very heavily involved in. You had what was the Flash and Aquaman. Those are the 4 movies. So to them, they're crossing their fingers, going, look, this is why they said up top, remember, don't forget about the door is open comment. The door is open, meaning if the movies do well, we can retool some things. If you guys really like so-and-so, if you guys go and make Shazam 2 a $200-300 million opening, whatever it is, then Zach Levi is gonna be back as Shazam. That definitely would have come out, but there's no money in it. So they're like, no one cares about this anymore. Right. So
I think that's true.
Yeah.
So had Flash come out and made the money that John Rocha was conjecturing that it could have possibly made.
Yeah, if it had been good.
I think we'd be having a very different discussion right now about who is remaining in the DCU and who's not.
It was an easier cut for them too, with all the controversy surrounding Ezra. Is that don't make any mistakes. The fact that Gunn is close with Ezra Miller, and it would have been a tougher choice for Gunn to say we can't move on if that thing made money. If the Flash made money, there would have been a lot more controversy coming, because they would have been like, we can't get rid of Ezra Miller. That movie just made $1 billion. If that movie made $1 billion, they wouldn't have given a crap about it. Now it's easier for them to go with everything involved. The fact the movie didn't make any money, we're not connecting it to the DCU. We need to move on. It was an easier cut for them to make.
Yeah,
it does feel though. Yeah. Oh, sorry. So what did you say? Oh, you feel bad?
I really hope so. I would love them to retain Sasha Calle. Whatever happened in that movie. If you're going to bring people over from other stuff, you can't just play favorites and bring people over from your stuff. You've got to be fair. Well, people love Sasha Calle's Supergirl.
I think it's too confusing, though.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I think it's too confusing. I mean, it's too confusing.
Not even whether it's confusing or not, but like, James Gunn is the boss. He, in fact, can do whatever he wants. Well, that's why he gets to do it. Like, nobody's going to go into James Gunn and Peter Safran's office and be like, guys, if you're bringing your boy back, you got to do this. They actually don't.
No, they don't. But the fans are going to show up in that office. The fans are going to show up on social media. The fans are going to show up.
Not as much, John, for that. Not as much for that one, because it's the same point. That movie didn't make the money that it was supposed to, right? I actually thought.
Yeah. But I thought Jennifer Holland is the touchstone for this, right? Touchstone for this. Like, everyone's like, oh, he's putting his wife in everything, blah, blah, blah. And that she is symbolizing all these other people, because people feel the Snyderverse people, these other people are DC loyalists. They feel like he's picking.
That's why the reboot safe. That's why a safe reboot would have been the easiest.
I think on the Sasha Calle front, just to be. I think you could go either way and it would be fine. I don't think it would be. I think this whole too confusing thing is whatever they do is going to be fine. But given the story that they're telling with Supergirl based on Tom King's Supergirl run, if they did cast Sasha Calle and say, look, she was great, we're giving her another shot as Supergirl. It's not tied to Flash. We just loved her. She's Supergirl.
Absolutely.
It would be fine. Also, if they cast somebody else as Supergirl and she's awesome and amazing, like, I'm good. I'm mostly just happy that they're telling that run of Supergirl, because it's a really, really good run.
Yeah. I got to stump for my Latinos, man. Come on.
Yeah, no.
Real quick, Aquaman, does it make $1 billion? Aquaman 2, does it make $1 billion or no? I mean, after these comments, this feels even less and less like this film's going to make any money.
No shot, and it might not even make profit. But I think just because we haven't gotten the real budget of that movie yet, as we all know here, 2 reshoots, normal. 4? That's something. That's something.
I also think it does feel, given his comments, and granted, I do think that every time James Gunn makes comments on Threads, some PR person at Warner Brothers wants to jump out of a building.
Sure.
But I do think that the lack of mentioning Jason Momoa, it does feel like they're just leaving Aquaman 2 out to dry. Like, they're just like, guys, listen. We got beat up by Black Adam. We got beat up by Shazam 2. We got beat up by The Flash. We're glad you like Blue Beetle, but it didn't do anything for us. We're done. Like, let's just get Aquaman 2 out the door and let's get excited about Creature Commandos.
They're complaining there's no trailer. Just put the trailer out. Fine. Just put it out.
Fine.
Just put the trailer out. Fine. Yeah. But I will say this, though. I think
It'll be Dark Phoenix.
Because I'm sure we'll get a comment, John, on here, because I get it all the time. And so, well, why don't they just do the Batgirl thing to this movie? And the answer to that question is because it probably costs upward to $250 to $300 million overall, even if it winds up making $250 million on its overall run, which I think it'll make more than that, with marketing. It'll probably, let's say that it needs to make $500 million to make a profit, and it makes 400. At least it made 400. At least they put 400 back in the bank, as opposed to just trying to take a tax cut on it. And I think that a movie will probably break even or maybe make a little money, but I think it'll probably get close to breaking even. Now, The Marvels is another one that I think is in trouble too.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Well, real quick, I don't think it's going to make $1 billion. I agree, but I think it might be a good film. And if it's a good film, people will go and enjoy it as like a goodbye to that DC and maybe have that kind of vibe to it. And we also don't know, Kristian, what deal points are in that deal that they had with Momoa that it had to be released. I don't think Sophie Grace could have pushed any of those deal points in her memo. So it might be a different situation. But yeah, The Marvels, rumors have come out that it is 1 hour and 40 minutes.
Wow.
But then there's counter news reports, because in the UK, the Odeon lists it at 140 minutes. Cineworld has it at 120 minutes. Either way, the fact that we don't know the runtime, but it seems a lot of reports are veering towards 145, 140. What do we think about this as if it is 140 or an hour and 40 minutes rather, it'll be the shortest MCU film to date, yet it's arguably going to do a lot of heavy lifting with 3 Marvels. Do we think that film is going to break $1 billion or make any money at all, considering the run Marvel's on right now?
Mike, you want me?
Listen, Mike, I think what Marvel needs right now more than anything is an absolute home run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I am actually rooting for the Marvels.
Okay,
I want it to be good. I want to come out and be like, that's given me that old, yes, thank you, but I don't think it's going to do what Marvel needs right now.
Yeah, I'm on the same page, and I think that John, I know you and I are a little different on the Aquaman trailer, the second one.
Yeah,
I thought both the Aquaman trailer and they both looked okay. I felt like I've seen both of those movies a million times. I mean, as much I love Blue Beetle. I love Sholo in Blue Beetle, and I love the family dynamic, and I love the performances, the superhero stuff inside of that movie. I've seen it a million times. That's the problem that the superhero genre or the comic book movie genre at the moment is running into. So I think it's one of the reasons why the casual movie fan is just like, I don't know, I've seen these a million times over, and you're losing them. That's what got them to $1 billion. It wasn't just the geeks like us. It was the casual fans that wanted to go see them as well, because it was new, it was different, it was exciting. Yeah. And now that's going away. Now the Marvels, if it's an hour 40, that's a problem for the movie. To me, what that says is, oof, I don't know if we got it here, guys, but what we could try to do is make it an hour 40, try to put it in as many screenings as possible so we can turn them out so more people will see them and we can make a profit on this thing. Because there's also the report of it was a lower budget of 140, and there's like, no, that's actually not the real budget. The real budget is something like 225, 240. Right. Yeah. That's a problem. This is also a movie that was made during the Chapek era. That's a problem. There's a lot of uh-ohs. The positives are the fact that what has looked good inside of this trailer is the dynamic between the 3 women. Yes. The dynamic looks fantastic. And if the SAG strike ends and you can get the 3 of them promoting, that could benefit this movie tremendously. Because if 100%. The 3 of them have the same kind of connection that we think that they do through the trailers in press rooms, and they get some videos out of it, I think it's kind of out of the 2 of the movies, I think it has the better possibility of performing. And if it's good, it will do very well. But I don't know. $1 billion, I don't think so. It's got a chance to make profit, but it also has an opportunity to be an
Yeah. I think 500 or less. That's what I'm thinking. If it even hits that, to be honest with you, I'll be surprised. But like you said, if the chemistry is great and the movie overall is fantastic, because I like Nia DaCosta, I like her Candyman, then great, higher than 500. But at this point, from the trailers and the general reaction I've seen online, it feels like 500 or less.
I'm rooting for it, though. I really am.
Me too.
I'm rooting for it.
I love her.
And actually, to Kristian's point, and I mean, and I know we're running late, and we got a bunch of stuff to talk about, but the dynamic between the 3 of them does feel like something I haven't seen before.
Yeah,
that. Like what Marvel's has over the Aquaman 2 trailer is that, in a world where we're all getting a little bit like, yes, we've seen the good guy fight the bad guy, and then there's the big battle, and you got the powers, and you got to dig deep, and family's important, and I love all the things that we've seen so many times now. Anytime you can tell a story that does something different, and the 3 of them together is a little bit different. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, we are running late, Michael, so we've got 3 trailers. Do you want to jump into them now?
Let's do it. Let's trailers. Shannon's not here, and I am, and so let's talk about it. We have 3 trailers to talk about today that are very different and very exciting. First up, we have gotten our first look at Matthew Vaughn's new film, ARGYLLE, starring Dua Lipa, Henry Cavill, Bryce Dallas Howard, an entire crew, Sam Rockwell, Samuel Jackson. It basically gives us a little bit of a Kingsman vibe with a little bit of a Romancing the Stone vibe and a cat. Definitely vintage Matthew Vaughn. It's a wild trailer. The actual description of the movie, directed by Matthew Vaughn, is it's centered on a secret agent. Oh, I'm sorry. It's sorry, I just missed it. Bryce Dallas Howard's character is a spy fiction novelist, Ellie Conway, who spends most of her nights at home with her cat, Alfie. However, when the plots of her books, centered on secret agent ARGYLLE, begin to mirror the covert actions of a real-life spy organization, Ellie's quiet evenings at home quickly become a thing of the past. Accompanied by Aiden, a cat-allergic spy, Ellie runs across the world to stay one step ahead of the bad guys. So, gentlemen, what did we think of this trailer? Rocha.
Yeah, I liked it. I really liked it. And listen, Jeff talked about on the hot mic last night, the conversation he had with Matthew Vaughn when he had first said on our show that that Apple wasn't sure what to do with this movie. It wasn't sure if it was going to be a success. Wasn't sure if they put it out on the screens or whatever. And him and Matthew apparently had this like late night conversation about it all, which is pretty incredible. And to hear that this is finally getting a release, I'm 100% on board. I like the trailer. I hated that teaser trailer that came out on Tuesday, so I wasn't sure what to expect from this trailer, but I like the vibe and the feeling of it all. And it's great to see Sam Rockwell getting a chance to do something like super spy stuff this late in his career, which I think is great because he's been around for a couple decades, so get him to do this is a lot of fun. Bryce is an interesting choice for a role like this, but bringing in Dua Lipa, that's so smart. Bringing in Henry Cavill to do something different, and Cena with the great comedic stuff that he's got going on now. I think it's a nice combination of stuff, and I love the vibe. It felt like Lost City for spy thrillers rather than romance. Yeah. So I'm down.
Yeah, that was the reference I was going to bring. It was definitely I felt Lost City after we just the one with Sandra Bullock, right? We just saw that. It very similar to how when I didn't know what this trailer was about, or the movie at all. So when I saw and Cena does this thing when he catches on the motorcycle, I'm like, that looks pretty fake, and I was like, it's supposed to. And I was like, oh, okay. Then where are they going with this? And it's such a star-studded cast with not just like big like movie stars, but with really talented actors also. And I'm like, this is fun. I love Matthew Vaughn. Matthew Vaughn. I think people always talk about Days of Future Past and everything. I think First Class, they don't give it enough respect that it saved the X-Men franchise. It's not a lie. That's not a lie. It saved it. It was like that franchise was on the way down after a lot of the movies that came out, and he saved it. And I love that movie. And I think that he got so caught up in the Kingsman world, and I love the first Kingsman, did not like the second one at all. And the third one was just a mix of 7 different genres. So, but I love seeing him do something like this because I agree with Mike. It has that feel of Romancing the Stone. It has that feel of what was it the first reference that you gave it? Kingsman, 100%. Yeah. And it has, even when it opens up the way that he does. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do with it because I don't feel like he does enough. And then when you look at everyone else involved, and I really enjoyed the Rockwell thing that he does on the train and how that's going to be. I don't know. It does look fun, and I'm glad that it's theatrically though. It's going to be interesting because movies are such a crapshoot now in the theater, man. Movies are such a crapshoot in the theater. You don't know what people want to see anymore and what they want to shell out money when they're spending anywhere between $60 to $200 a month on streaming platforms. That's a lot of people don't talk about that enough. It's like, well, why aren't you going to the movies? Because I spend $200 a month on 7,000 movies that are all over the place, and I can just go like this and turn it on.
Exactly. I knew that would be I said that early on in the COVID shutdown situation. Once streaming blew up, I was like, people are going to get used to it. Yeah. And sure enough, that's eventually what happened. Now people are still running back to theaters for the big stuff, right? Or stuff like Oppenheimer, which is a real anomaly. But overall, they're staying home and they want to stay home and enjoy some of the stuff there. All right, Michael, what's our next trailer?
All right. Well, first on the ARGYLLE front.
Oh, sorry.
You'll be able to see it on released worldwide in theaters on February 2nd, and then it will be coming to Apple TV Plus at a later date. So, per your point, you could go see it in a theater, but you'll also be able to wait and watch it at home. Yeah. Next up, we got our full look at Disney's Wish. The full trailer came out and earned 66.5 million views, making it the most watched trailer for a Disney movie, beating Frozen 2. So clearly there's a little bit of interest in this movie. It's the 62nd feature release from Disney Animation Studios, coming out the year that it is celebrating its 100th anniversary. And the movie follows 17-year-old Asha, an idealist who makes a wish so powerful that it is answered by a cosmic force, a little ball of boundless energy called Star, which puts her in direct conflict with the ruler of Rosas, King Magnifico, played by Chris Pine. So, full star-studded cast, full Disney musical, Alan Tudyk as a goat. Gentlemen, what did you feel? Kristian, let's go to you first.
Mike, you're the animation expert here. Did this trailer seem unfinished to you?
No, it definitely has a different look for a Disney animated film, though, that has a kind of a rougher Well, no, there is some that, now that you say it, I was like, no, it's a good look. But there was an element of this trailer that did have,
right?
There was something about the lighting to it or the texturing of it that did seem a little bit different to me, that did kind of pop out now that you mention it.
It felt a little unfinished to me as I was watching it too. I had a chance to see a little of well, first of all, Miranda DeBose came out and sang the song. And it was fantastic, and it was a great song. And they showed a little bit more Star, and that I got more there of something a little bit more original than I did in this trailer. The trailer to me, again, very similar to what we were talking about before. I think Disney movies are in the same place that Marvel movies are in the fact that I've seen this a billion times over, but then I get surprised with something like Enchanted. Right? Enchanted? Not Enchanted. What's the one? Oh, shoot.
Encanto.
Thank you. Encanto.
Right.
Close. Encanto. Like, so my kids watched Encanto, and I was like, oh, well, yeah, I because I was under the same kind of thing of like, a lot of this stuff just seems the same, and I was blown away by that movie. I thought that movie was fantastic. So this could be the same, but what the trailer itself, I feel like I've seen this movie a billion times over. I'll definitely see it with my kids because they're going to want to see it, and I hope that it takes that Disney kind of magic. And I'm like, wow, that, like as Mike said before, it's just wow. I wasn't expecting that, and that was fantastic. But the trailer was fine.
Johnny?
I like the trailer. I was a little bit confused about what the main issue is here, because I thought she was the daughter of the queen and the king, but she isn't. She's actually just a citizen of the land. And why is he holding on to these wishes? What is this? What's he supposed to represent? Then the star, and then the goat talks, and Alan Tudyk is always great. I didn't like the butt joke, but it's because I'm not 12, so okay, fine. But the singing and the majesty of it all, for lack of a better term, I liked, and I like the vibe of this. And I'm such a fan of Ariana DeBose. Yeah. So I love that. Angelique Cabral is doing the voice of the queen, which is great to hear. Another Latin being a part of this. So to me, there's a lot here that I enjoyed. And Chris Pine, who I love to pieces, either animated or in live action. So I'm a fan of it. I just was left a little aloof by it. I felt a little distant by it.
So I wasn't quite. I mean, I didn't necessarily find it confusing.
Well, for me, it was like, well, he's holding on to the wishes. Why is he holding on to the wishes? Why does she want to stop him holding on to the wishes? Not everyone should have their wish granted. So maybe I don't agree with the premise, Michael. But the trailer overall, the fact that it got 62 million, crazy. I was really surprised by that. So clearly, there's some magic here that I'm not 100% seeing, but clearly a lot of people are.
I love the trailer. I thought it was great. I do agree with Kristian once he brought it up that there is something in some of the shots that I was like, that looks a little bit weird, but I really love the trailer. I'm a sucker for a Disney musical. I'm a sucker for a Disney fairy tale. To me, the whole, like, she's the apprentice to the king, and he just only gives the wishes that he thinks are good for the kingdom, and he doesn't get to be the arbiter of that, and she gets to open up the world so that everybody can make wishes on stars. I'm like, great, good to me. And in addition to Ariana DeBose and Chris Pine and Alan Tudyk, as you said, Angelique Cabral is playing Queen Amaya. Victor Garber is Asha's grandfather. And then we have a whole cast of characters, all of the 7 friends that are in the movie of Asha's, that when you read the descriptions sound very similar to 7 Dwarfs that you might have seen in a movie. So some kind of interesting connections. Obviously, When You Wish Upon a Star from Pinocchio, 7 Dwarfs. So as this movie comes out on Disney's 100th anniversary, it does seem that in addition to being another Disney fairy tale musical, there's going to be some interesting ties and Easter eggs to other Disney stuff. So I am 100% sold. You'll be able to go check that out Thanksgiving. And then our final trailer coming out next week on Netflix is a little show called Strawberry Shortcake and the Beast of Berry Bog, coming to you from executive producer Michael Vogel. So we talk about Strawberry Shortcake a lot on the show. We can now talk about the full trailer that is coming out, that is out right now, for the first of 4 44-minute CG specials coming out on Netflix starting next week. We got a fall special, followed by a winter special, followed by a spring special, followed by a summer special. So, John,
Yeah,
did you see that they're not berries?
I did see that they're not bears. They're actually somewhat little human people, and things are going on. They play guitars. They eat
do?
berries. They eat food with berries in them. And this seems like it's perfect timing for Halloween. Am I correct on this? So
You would be correct. In
So,
in
yeah.
Big Apple City, they don't celebrate Halloween. They celebrate Frightfall. But it is
Yeah.
basically the same thing. And this is a full, fun Scooby-Doo mystery. And if you watch it and you're not necessarily the target demo for Strawberry Shortcake, you can still count all of the movie references that Michael Vogel put into Strawberry Shortcake from all of his favorite 80s movies.
and you wrote some of the lyrics for some of the songs. Am I correct on this?
I wrote all the lyrics for all the songs.
Oh, that's amazing.
Wow.
That's amazing. So I'll tell you what I loved about this trailer, Mike, is the fact that I just took my youngest, who just turned 6. I took her to see Paw Patrol. And we went, and I said to myself, I said, there's like not a lot for her. Like there's a lot for my 12-year-old. There's a lot for, and not to say this isn't also for people besides 6-year-olds. I'm just saying that my 6-year-old in general loves Strawberry Shortcake. We do the coloring book and all that. And I was like, and I wasn't aware of this until John sent it to me earlier today. And I was like, and the first thing I said as I was watching, I was like, I'm going to show Maisie this as soon as she gets home from school. And I know she's going to love it. And yeah, it's just, I also like watching stuff with my 6-year-old when it comes to stuff like this, because it makes me feel good. You know what I mean? Like it's like these things. It's just these little innocent creatures just singing and dancing and having a good time. And you also have Mike's, and I know Mike, so I know his sense of humor, and we have a lot of the same references and things too. So now that I know that, I'll be looking at it, I'm like, oh, okay, there it is. So yeah, it was a nice, pleasant surprise when John sent it to me this morning.
Oh.
Yep. Well, you guys can all check out Strawberry Shortcake and the Beast of Berry Bog next week on Netflix.
Nice.
Awesome.
That is awesome. That is awesome stuff. All right, let's take our last break of the show here, and then we'll get into our main topic, talking about AHSOKA for a few minutes here right after this.
I got nothing.
Yeah, I had a feeling. I thought you were singing some of your lyrics, but I get it.
There's always something cooking. There's always something cooking.
Well, let's get into it here. We're on the precipice of the finale of AHSOKA. We've had 7 episodes of the show. It's really blown up and increased. I mean, initially the first few weeks, it didn't seem like the viewership was 100% there. And then episodes 4, 5, and 6 really just blew up in the fandom of Star Wars, and people came around on the series. This last episode, a little bit of a divisive reaction to it. Maybe not as high enjoyed as the episodes 4 through 6, but now we're about to get into this finale. We've got a Dave Filoni movie coming. There's rumors about a possible second season of AHSOKA, and we've got people on Peridia here. We've got Hera, who escaped a court martial. Kristian, I'll go to you first as someone who reviews this also on your channel, and you are the big Star Wars guy. Thoughts on the series overall, and what are your thoughts and predictions for what we're going to see in the finale?
Well, first, I guess I'm in the minority because I actually loved the last episode. It's actually my favorite of the season. I loved it. I thought it had thought it had so many good Star Wars moments throughout it. I loved, I think that people that were saying, oh, 3PO was just there because they wanted member berries. I thought they handled the fact that they still brought up Leia, and they still brought her up in a way that she's very involved. That was one of my biggest concerns. I'm like, how do you not mention Leia? How do you not mention her? Like she's so involved in the government at this point. I get Luke, he's running around doing his thing, trying to find himself, and who knows what Han and Chewie are doing. They don't have to be mentioned, even though I don't know why Luke is in your first phone call when you're out there trying to go find Thrawn. Another conversation. Yes. But Leia's involved in this angle. So how do you not mention her? And they bring C-3PO in, and I thought C-3PO was used the best that he's been used since the original trilogy, because he was worthless in the sequel trilogy and a bumbling moron in the first 3 prequels. So this is what he would be doing, and certain things like that, and then leading into kind of pushing the story forward with everything. The stuff that he did with Balin, I thought was great. The fact that they haven't turned Shin, it's one of the tropes in Star Wars that drives me bonkers, is that every single evil person has to turn good. And it's like, I could have told you, but the second they announced, well, Reva's going to be in the show, she's turning good, and you just knew it. And I said it about Shin, and I've been wrong so far, and I think I'm going to be wrong. And I think that so one of my predictions is I think she stays the course. I think she stays evil. I think she kind of goes off her own path. I think Balin winds up staying there, and I think that's the explanation of Ray Stevenson. I think that they're going to leave the character of Balin in that universe.
So he doesn't die. He stays on Peridia and whatever.
I think so, because if they're gonna, that's the only one that if you're gonna bring that character back, that I understand a lot of times when people go, I don't know if recast. I think it's the only time you'd have to recast. There's two people. Everybody was saying Gerard Butler. I'll tell you what, you know who would be great as a replacement is the guy in he was also in 300, but he's in One Piece. I don't know, Mike, are you watching One Piece?
I haven't started watching it yet. Actually.
Oh my god, I'm so shocked to hear
everybody. Everybody has been being like, "You got to watch it. You got to watch it." I think this weekend I'm going to start.
In what world would I be the one that watched all of that before you?
I know
the guy who plays the Grand Admiral, and that would be a great replacement for if they were going to use
Vincent Reagan. Yes, Vincent Reagan. He's such a good actor.
He's really good. So, but anyway, I think that there's gonna my biggest thing is they've been building up Thrawn as Thanos, right? He's gonna be the big bad. He's got to be if he's gonna lead into Filoni's movie to kind of redo the Heir of the Empire storyline. That's what's gonna be. He's got to be this Thanos thing. He doesn't have a win yet, the way Thanos did. Thanos had a lot of different. Thanos became menacing throughout the MCU until eventually you get to Infinity War. They had to go back in time in order to redo it. He won. So you got to do something that really just having a plan of getting off the planet isn't going to do it. Like something has to happen. And whether he goes back, causes some chaos, starts the war again, something needs to happen in that particular area. But if I'm going to say, I think that someone's got to die. I don't necessarily know if it's going to be the Rebels crew this time around, but I do think out of the bad guys, I don't think Morgan makes it out.
Yeah.
I think Morgan's gone.
She kind of teased it at the presentation. I think it was at Star Wars Celebration that she mentioned there'd be a sequel battle between her and Ahsoka. So Diana Lee Inosanto. So I think we're going to get that, and somehow Morgan dies. I thought it'd be Thrawn because she keeps questioning Thrawn, but it might be Ahsoka who ends up icing her. Michael, what are your thoughts on the series so far? What predictions do you have coming up for the finale for this one?
Overall, I like the series. Overall, I'm having a good time. I think it stumbles sometimes, unlike Kristian. If you watched our spoiler review from last week, I was not the biggest fan of the episode. Although I agree with everything you said about 3PO. Like, I actually agree that they used C-3PO in the right way, and that what C-3PO was there to do, like delivering Leia's message, was great. 100% agree that he was worthless in the sequel trilogy and bumbling in the prequels. So I'm all for C-3PO being used better. But yeah, there was just some tonal stuff that didn't quite land for me. And it's kind of what I was saying in our spoiler review into people last week, which is I like where everyone has been positioned on the board for the finale. Like I like that everyone is where they are. I like that everything that I know, I like. I just feel like there's been a lack of information and that character hasn't necessarily been driving all the choices forward. Yeah. But all that being said, I do think that we're going to get a second season. I think they're just waiting to announce it, but I don't think that we're doing Thrawn makes it back to the galaxy to be continued on the big screen. I think that there's more story to be told between this and Skeleton Crew, Skeleton Crew, and potentially even some more Mando stuff. Like, I think they haven't set the board yet for this movie. I think there's some more moving things around. So obviously, I think we're getting Thrawn back in our galaxy. I think some people aren't making it off Peridia. Some people are. I think if they killed Ezra, it would be very dumb and everybody would go crazy. Like, I just don't. I know that everyone's saying, John, you said it, like, you feel like, I don't know that you go, let's build this entire thing about let's go get Ezra. Ezra shows up, does like a little bit of force foo, and then he's like, oh, I'm dead. I just don't know that is where they want to go. I also think that, and I don't know, like, I think that Filoni really wants Ezra to train Jason. Yeah, I think that there's some symmetry to Ezra now training Jason the way that Canon taught him, that like is all the Star Wars generational feels that you want. So I think Ezra's coming back, but I'll be interested to see. I think like more than having predictions on what I think is going to happen, the things that I really want to know that I think are super important moving forward are, we still don't really know why Ahsoka and Sabine didn't work out the first round of training.
Yeah.
Like Balin sort of mentioned something about Sabine's family getting lost, probably with the Night of 1,000 Tears when like they just glassed Mandalore, and that somehow something that Ahsoka said, like there's some stuff around there that's been very kind of talked around, but like Ahsoka and Sabine have a lot of unsaid stuff, and that seems to be the core emotional thing of this season that we've just circled around it a lot and not hit it. And then in addition to that, all of this stuff with, I was happy that Ahsoka was happy to see Ezra, but like Ahsoka was like, don't go get Ezra. And Sabine was like, I'm going to go get Ezra. And then Ahsoka was like, Sabine went to get Ezra without me saying it. And then Ezra still is not fully aware that Sabine brought the key to getting Thrawn back, and Ezra sacrificed everything to get rid of Thrawn and has been chilling out on this planet for 10 years. So I really kind of want some emotional confrontations in addition to awesome lightsaber battles, big ass action set pieces, Thrawn making it back. Like there's some emotional stuff that we haven't really dug into here.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the series. I might do a rewatch actually before the finale if I have time in the next few days. I want to kind of get all that back into my head as I go into the finale and assess it a little more honestly, remembering everything. But I've enjoyed it, and it's been a nice surprise because I was a little worried. And then it really kind of hit its stride so well. And so, yeah, I agree with you, Michael. Those are my questions as well. I think, Kristian, you made a lot of fantastic points as well. For me, I'm seeing that Shin stays the course. When she ran away, I think it's almost like a Ben Solo type of thing. Yeah. She has to work stuff out, so she's got to stay evil for a while. Who knows if down the road she makes a change? Maybe in the Filoni movie there's redemption. They love redemption, brother. But I agree with you, but they love redemption. The other thing is I think absolutely Morgan's dying. I think Hu Yang is probably dying.
That would suck.
I hope they've been talking about it, and it's not like they don't have a proclivity to kill droids, K2SO.
Yep.
So there's a possibility here with him because he keeps talking about his age, and he said last episode, I hope I live long enough to see them fight together, And then I don't know what's going to go on with Ezra and Sabine, because maybe that was just a kind of a trick you thing at the end there when he's like, I sure can't wait to get home and take Betty out to a hot dog on Coney Island. Like it just felt so obvious, but maybe Sabine is the one. Maybe Sabine realizes the mistake she's made here. Maybe she sacrifices herself to stop Thrawn from going, or in some way.
He ain't killing the Rebels crew, man. He loves he loves the Rebels crew too much.
I don't know why we always get to these finales and we're like, who's gonna die? I don't think anyone's dying.
You don't think anyone is dying?
Not in this season. Oh no, more no. You mean Rebels crew, right?
Oh no, like Morgan. Like Morgan, I can give or take. Morgan can do whatever.
Okay.
Maybe Balin does something where he jumps into the giant pool of Force energy and gives his life to the magic whale. Like I don't know.
Balin ARGYLLE, is that what you're saying?
But yeah, basically.
But I will say, Mike, one of the things that I disagree slightly is that I do think they have a plan mapped out, and I think it was thrown off tremendously with the strikes, obviously. But I because as they do very poorly at Lucasfilm is announce when the movies are coming out, then they change their tune every 3 weeks, and so right now it's scheduled. I don't even think they necessarily I know, even though hypothetically the Rey movie is supposed to come out in May of 2026 and the Filoni's movie is supposed to come out in December of 2026. That's what it's planned for right now, but don't be surprised if that switches, because it was always, as far as I know, and from birdies flying around, it was always of, let's see how the Ahsoka season 2 is always like, we want to get there. The question is, are the fans going to talk about it? Are people going to like it? Or is the audience going to be there? I think it's the first water cooler show we've had in a little bit. Season 3 of Mandalorian didn't do it the way season 2 did. Andor certainly I loved, but it wasn't a water cooler show. So I think that it will get a season 2, but the question is, how do they line it up? Now, there were rumors that Mandalorian season 4 is already written. The question is, the rumors were that they were going to try to make that a movie, right? Yeah. So does Favreau decide and go, you know what? I'll just direct the movie, and he puts the movie out, and that connects to the overall universe, right? Who knows? That's one of the rumors. But I would say that you need to look at this. You got to go, first of all, when does Skeleton Crew is going to be the next one out? How does that play into all of it? And then you got to figure, and that'll be next year, Skeleton Crew. And then you got to get the Mandalorian, either the movie or the season out. That would probably be early 2025. And in all of that time, you're going to get Ahsoka done. You've got to get Ahsoka shot and ready to go early part of 2026. So it then plays into Filoni's movie in December of 2026.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
It's a lot, and I do agree that like whatever the plan was, the strike probably torpedoed a lot of it.
Yep.
More so than here's the way I'll look at it. As that is actually a great way to look at it, just from a nuts and bolts. What do we actually have to get done?
Yeah.
From a story standpoint, like where we left Mando and Grogu and Bo-Katan at the end of season 3, it just. I feel like there's more to tell to put things. I was talking to somebody about this that. I don't think Filoni's movie is going to be like the TV show just leaps to the screen and it's a continuation of everything. We need these TV shows to sort of reach a point of like, okay, here's where we're stopping, so that when you go see the movie, you jump on board and you're caught up. That crawl says Thrawn has returned, and we get a whole little bit, but we can dive in. But the movie, for them to do this successfully, the movie is going to have to feel like its own thing, as well as feeling like, oh, well, it's a culmination of all this other stuff.
Yeah, I don't know how good Filoni is at that though, because I am an advocate, and I always tell people. Even someone yesterday told me that they wanted to watch Ahsoka, but they didn't watch it because they haven't watched Rebels. I said, I don't think you need to do that. I don't think you have to. Right. You don't necessarily have. It certainly helps. You emotionally get a lot more involved if you do, but I think that there are things though that you are very much more rewarded for if you watch Rebels. That I don't think you're lost. But I think that it'll be the same type of thing in the movie, where there's going to be a lot of things that tie in that you're like, oh, had you watched all this shit, you probably would have liked it a little more.
Yeah, I do think, I think watching Ahsoka, I kind of am split down the middle by this point in Ahsoka, where I think that you can watch Ahsoka without having watched Rebels and Clone Wars, and you're not going to be confused. Like, you understand the logic of, okay, Ahsoka was Anakin's apprentice. She left this crew, so they want to find this guy Ezra. Thrawn is a big bag. You understand what's happening, but Filoni very easily could have gone through and given a little bit more context to some of this stuff in some very simple ways to make it more impactful for the casual viewer. And I think if not doing that in Ahsoka, it still seems to have worked, because I agree with you. This is the first time we've had like that water cooler show and where everyone's talking about it the next day and genuinely excited in a while. But when you jump to the big screen, you've got to make that movie feel standalone.
Agreed.
You have to.
Yep.
One last question. I know we got to go. We're running late. Real quick. Do we get an original trilogy cameo? Do we get Luke, Leia, Han, or Lando, or even Chewie popping up in this finale of Ahsoka?
You get somebody. I think you're going to have a lot of member berries in this one. I think there's going to be a lot of those moments of, oh, I know that. Yeah, that's that. I think there's going to be a lot of those. Who in general, I don't know, but there's going to be a lot of those.
Right. Mike, what do you think?
I want Dex.
You should follow Brian Ward. That's all. You get Dex. You get Dex every post.
I want Dex. Dex all day, every day. That's all I want. Just want Dex.
Shout out to Brian, whose memes have been blowing up over the last couple
You know who I would? You know what I would actually? And it rhymes. This wasn't actually my intention, but honestly, give me Rex.
Yeah, I think he's going to show.
Oh
up too.
yeah,
give me Rex. Like more than Han or Leia or people who are like not as specifically tied to Ahsoka, who is ostensibly the main character of this show. Is like getting back to the regular galaxy and kind of saying we gotta get guys all hands on deck. Like, give me Rex or give me Zeb.
Oh, Zeb for sure.
Zeb I would like to see. Yeah, a little reunion here. Chris, did you want to bring up that topic, or are you good? Because we're running along.
Just real quick for people to know, like what I'm getting tagged on it every 5 seconds, and it's the fact that people in the Star Wars community were so excited because they were going to do a complete revamp of the Knights of the Old Republic and make it for the new console, everything too. Well, the same tweet that announced that has been deleted. It's been taken out of the thing. It looks like it's not going to happen anymore. Yet another game in the Lucasfilm stratosphere to be taken away in Knights of the Republic. It doesn't seem like Lucasfilm knows what to do with the Old Republic, and it's a damn shame.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is in keeping with Star Wars in general to announce to get excited about something and then be like, "Hey, never mind."
Just kidding.
Well, Sony's issued a statement in response to the removal of the trailers and tweets, saying it had to do with music licensing. They said, as part of a normal business, we delist assets with licensed music when the licenses expire. I don't know if I buy that, but yeah, right. It feels a little bit like trying to paper over the cracks there.
Yeah, and Roswell was an air balloon.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
Fair enough. All right, well, let's wrap it up there. We went way over time. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us here on the Geek Buddies, and especially big shout out to Kristian Harloff for taking time out to hang out with us. We know you're a busy man, Kristian, with all you got going on your channel, so it's always great to see you, brother. Like a friend of years and tears. Please let people know what you got going on and everywhere they can find your stuff, brother.
Well, what I got going right now is answer my wife back the last 8 texts about marinating meat for my daughter's birthday party. So that's the first thing up on the list.
Birthday.
Yeah, then after that, it's going to be working on the channel. We have Capes and Cowls on today. My show Big Thing is on 5 days a week. You can catch it if you like this type of stuff. That's my Friday show. Star Wars we do on Wednesdays. We do a kind of shoot the shit with guests on Monday and Thursday, and Tuesday is our UAP Tuesday show with me and Mark Riley. And then I also do out of the theater reactions and reviews and shorts and all that stuff and more on the channel. So if you haven't already done it, please come on over and subscribe, and we'd love to have you.
There you go. Mikey, what do we have to tell our people who've been listening to us?
Well, if you would like to follow us, you can do so on Twitter at Geek_Buddies, on Instagram at _Geek_Buddies. You can follow Mr. Rocha at The Rocha Says. You can follow me at MKToon. And then while you're at it, you can also smash this like button below. You can subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page. Check out all the amazing content he has got there. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think is going to be going on in the AHSOKA finale. What do you think of James Gunn? What do you think of the Predators? What do you think of cartoons and ARGYLLE? Let us know all your thoughts below. If you are listening to us on a podcast, go ahead and leave us some stars and some comments so we go up in the rankings and more people can find us. And as always, the best thing that you guys can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies, and do not forget to tune in next week when we do our spoiler review of the AHSOKA finale.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep tuning. We might be live. We don't know. We might be live. We'll see if we can figure it out. But tune in.
Chances are high.
Chances are undoubtedly high.
Right.
For sure. And big shout out to Shannon McClung, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today, but we love you, brother. Go and follow him in all social media channels as well. All right. Take care of yourselves. Be well. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of the
Geek
Buddies.
Hey!